Hello and welcome to Gaslands. So, what is Gaslands? Some of you may be asking. So, Gaslands is a vehicular combat tabletop miniatures game set in a Mad Max style death race post-apocalyptic style future. It's by a guy called Mike Hutchinson of Planet Smasher Games. It was released in 2017. It's kind of always been on my peripheries and stuff like that of games to look at. And it's taken me about 10 years, but I've finally taken a look at this game, and it is
bloody brilliant.
So, Gaslands is available from a number of places. I got my copy of the rules eventually via digital download from Osprey Games. All the templates and a bunch of other stuff is available for free on Planet Smasher's website. They're the developers of the game, or as I've already said. I'll put some links on screen, and I'll also put some links below. On the website you'll find scenarios, templates, and all the stuff that you need to really play the game, as well as if you buy the hard copy of the book, you also get all those templates too. Now, unlike 99% of games, in my opinion of course, Gaslands is one of the truly accessible to pretty much everyone, based on budget and kind of where you can get things and stuff like that. The only thing that you definitely need is a copy of the rules book. It's available, as I've already mentioned, in digital format and hardback from a variety of different places. Amazon is usually the easiest one for everyone to get access to if you've got the internet, which I'm assuming you have. I would imagine some smaller gaming shops will stock it as well. But yeah, just kind of search it, look around. It's easy to get hold of, and basically all you need is the rule book. Access to a printer is handy for printing out things such as templates and stuff like that to get you started. Although if you can get the measurements, you could probably just draw the templates yourself to get you started. It's always helpful to have dice, actual physical dice. But again, if you've got an internet connection or you've got apps on your phone, there's dice apps on there which you could use. So like this game you can pretty much do with anything. Now generally speaking, it's played with 1/64 scale or 20mm scale toy cars, such as your Hot Wheels and your Matchbox and all the other various different scale of toy cars. But as the author of the book writes in the actual rule book, it can be pretty much played at any scale and any type of vehicles. He mentions in there if you want to scale it up to kind of like 28mm, here's how you do that. If you want to play it with kind of bigger cars, micro machines, whatever, there's always ways to do it. If you want to use pod racers, or if you want to use whatever you want. I mean, if you're on a really stingy budget, you could probably play it with rocks and twigs. As long as you've got a way to represent this is car A and this is car B, you're fine. Your tokens, you can print them out, you can buy 3D printed ones, you can print them yourself, you can get them on the internet. Same with the specific kind of like skid dice, you can buy those, or you can just use the numbers on the table or anything like that. It's so accessible, it's unreal. It even says in the rule box about tokens. Yes, there is tokens that you can print out or you can buy for the game, but if you want to use nuts, bolts, and whatever else you've got at hand, paper clips, to kind of represent ammo tokens and hazard tokens and stuff like that, use those. It's like a perfect accessible for all game. It works best on a more immersive level if you were to go through, the usual wargaming hobby method, such as, you know, you buy a toy car, you model it in whatever way you want, whether that be just use the toy car as is, paint that toy car as is, take that toy car apart and then paint it and do it all nice and detailed, or even just kind of, you know, get 3D printed ones and stick 3D printed bits to existing cars. You can do what you want. So stuff like paintbrushes, spray cans, super glue, because a lot of them are die-cast metal, so super glue generally works best. Raiding your bit boxes for if you play any other kind of like miniature based games. They're all handy to make it really immersive. And toy cars, they can be found pretty much anywhere. So your toy cars, you can get them from charity shops, you can get them from the pound shop, you can get them from toy shops like Smith Toys, I think is a big toy shop. You can buy them from your local supermarkets, Asda's, Tesco's, Lidl, Aldi, wherever else there's a supermarket, there's probably some form of Hot Wheel or toy car kicking around. So, you know, you can use anything and get there. The main thing is get the rule book, get something to represent the cars, get some way of rolling some dice, and then you can play it and you can have a go. Like, I thought as well, what would be really useful would be to sort of say why I like this game. Why have I all of a sudden become kind of like Gaslands mad? It's an old game. I've watched some videos in the past and stuff like that. But why? What has kind of drawn me in? So I bought the rulebook, started reading through it, watched a few videos and stuff like that. Used one toy car and painted it up. Had a little demo game with the missus with another toy car, and then kind of got hooked. And these are kind of like my personal, which won't apply to everyone, but these are my top 5 reasons of why I like this game, and I think everyone should try it. So, number 1, it just works as a game. So, like most wargamer and sort of like tabletop hobbyists, because I'll be honest, I do mostly hobby nowadays, it's very rare I actually play anything. I kind of like played and collected Warhammer, 40k, Age of Sigmar, Warcry, all the different spin-off games, Necromunda and that. Over the years, I've tried to get into other games as well, like historical ones and stuff like that, but I've always come into the same sort of issue. It's always too restricted or it's overly complicated. So, you know, you'll have an idea, you'll watch a film and you want to do something and you kind of, I'll try and turn some orcs into this, and then you kind of like start looking at the rules and everything like that, and it's kind of like, I can't quite skew it in, so I'll change this rule, I'll compromise on this a bit, I'll change that, and then it kind of like ruined it a little bit. You know, the original idea, it's been diluted down too far. So there's that aspect, and then kind of like it feels like Mike, the author, who's made this game, you know, on interviews I've watched with him, which is very rare, I don't usually do that with games, he seems to like the same things and has grown up with the same things that I kind of liked growing up. And he's designed a game which gives you a lot of creative freedom and kind of like, well, here's a basic framework and there you go, do with it whatever you want, you know? And that's perfect. So, number 2, I love cars. So, not your pristine, gleaming supercars. Some are cool, don't get me wrong, but I kind of love cars with grit and purpose. I love old cars, dirty cars, your yappy little cars like your old Toyota Starlets and stuff like that, rally cars, big chunky 4x4 cars, little chunky 4x4 cars. I love like the every person car, you know, the Volvo Estate, the Ford Mondeo. My favourite motorsport is rallying, you know, the dirty, nitty gritty, technical motorsport. I drove around Europe when I was younger, pretty much so drive along the Furka Pass, which is in Switzerland, because that was on a James Bond film, and that looked like a really nice road to drive on. So I pretty much went all the way around Europe just to do that, and that was in kind of like an old Bogo standard 1.6 Astra. I then took that same Astra and I threw it round a track. It was the slowest, ill-suited car for a track day compared to everything that was there, and the Lotus Elises and the kind of like the souped-up race cars and stuff like that, the Nissan GTRs and stuff. I probably had the most fun. It was fantastic. I love cars. When my families and friends mention cars and I'm around, I kind of see their eyes glaze over in a mixture of kind of like fear and tedium, because they know what they're now locked into. It's an infinitely long, one-sided conversation about cars. As it stands at the moment, I own 2 cars and a van because I like cars that much, and I've always wanted a van, and I saw a van the other day and it was a Volkswagen Caddy, and I wanted a Volkswagen Caddy, so I bought a Volkswagen Caddy along with the really old Mark 1 beaten up Skoda Octavia and the Mark 2 Skoda Octavia VRS, of course. It's my current sports car, so sensible car, sports car, van. The only reason I don't own more cars is because the only thing I slightly love more than cars is my fiance. And that's slightly. I also love working on cars. I love getting dirty. I love oil and kind of like tinkering and messing with bits and stuff like that. And this game sort of somehow captures that culture of my car world, if you get what I mean. And it also means I can do things to a model car that I can't necessarily do to a real life car. And that's down to the insurance companies don't like it if you were to make a Mad Max inspired car. Apparently they'd be dangerous on the roads, and also the missus doesn't like the idea of me making a Mad Max car because for some reason she thinks I might actually drive the Mad Max car on the normal roads, and that might be a problem. Which, speaking of the missus, that brings us on to the next point. Now, it's very rare that the missus will like a tabletop game. I've tried with a friend. We've tried with Necromunda. That was too complicated for her. She doesn't come from a gaming background or anything like that. She didn't like it. There were too many rules, too many dice rolls, too much random chance and stuff like that. And I get it. Same reason I don't like Necromunda. She doesn't like 40k because it's not a setting that she particularly can relate to. She's not a big sci-fi fan. She kind of likes the fantasy stuff and Age of Sigmar and stuff like that. She has got some Warcry miniatures. She's really good at painting. To say she's never really done it, she's really good at painting, which is really annoying because I've spent years trying to get decent at painting, and she's kind of like, oh, is this alright? Yes, darling, that is marvellous. Now step away from the brush because you're making me feel bad. So for a change, she's actively been involved with it. When we've been looking around charity shops, when we've been looking around the supermarkets, stuff like that, she's been picking out cars that she wants, and she's actually come up with an idea, which we'll talk about later. She's come up with an idea of a team and the colour schemes and stuff like that, which is nice because it means that the few games we've played and the games that we'll be playing more of, I'll actually have someone to play a game with for a change, and that's quite a nice thing. So then there's obviously toy cars and customization. I've always kind of wanted an excuse to buy toy cars as an adult and play with them. I haven't got kids as it stands at the minute, so you can't buy them for that. It's a bit hard to find an excuse to do these things without it showing the true depths of your man-childery. So yeah, that's good. And obviously also I love modelling and painting things. Probably should leave with that one, but the customization is really good as well, not just the playing with toy cars and stuff. And then there's also the inspiration for the game. Now, as I've already mentioned, it does feel like the game, the author of the game, kind of into the same stuff that I was into growing up. So I grew up watching Mad Max films, TV series and cartoons like Michael Myers from Mars, Ninja Turtles, Wacky Racers, and films like the original Death Race with David Carradine and Sylvester Stallone and stuff like that, and then obviously later on the later Death Race series and stuff like that, and all those sort of kind of like machine-centered films and TV programs and stuff like that, Robo-Jocks, Tank Girl, all that sort of weird and wonderful kind of like gasoline, high octane, slightly wacky, not the best storylines in the world, but damn does it look really cool. And then there's kind of like the games that I used to play growing up, so if it had a car or something like that in it, I'd usually play it. Like Driver, the original Driver game, that was a fantastic game. Things like Gran Turismo, the amount of time I spend playing Gran Turismo, and I still do because of the new versions of it, and I'm not buying your Ferraris and your Lamborghinis and stuff like that. I'm looking for the older cars, the kind of like the cars that anyone can buy, and then I'm customizing, changing the wheels, changing the colour, putting the thing. Need for Speed. Need for Speed Underground 1 and 2. Me and my cousin, we played that game to death. Like, back in the cool thing was the neon lights underneath it and stuff like that, the jazzy paintwork and spending the hours kind of like arranging decals and stuff like that. They were fantastic. And then you got the car combat games that we kind of grew up. You had like Vigilante 8, Vigilante 8 Second Defense. Hours and hours and hours of fun on those games. There was the Star Wars Demolition game, which was basically a reskin of Vigilante 8 but with Star Wars stuff, and Carmageddon 1 and 2, kind of like growing up with that. They were fantastic. It's almost as if Mike somehow reached into my brain and said, "Here, I made this for you, Jack." And he made it simple without too many rules, and he made it cool with all the things I'm interested in, which is really nice, Mike. Thank you for making this game specifically for me. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to start playing it. So then, what are my plans for the game? Like, moving on. So, like with all things I get into, I've kind of got into this quite heavily. Some may say slightly obsessively, but each to their own. At the minute, it's basically build a bunch of different cars and play some games with them. So, you have your different car categories. You've got anything from buggies to kind of like normal cars, performance cars, trucks, heavy trucks, war rigs, monster trucks. Just build a couple of each, play some games with them, kind of get a feel for all the different rules and stuff like that, and then take it from there. Now, we've got some ideas of teams. So my idea for a team at the minute, and I'll probably end up with a load of different teams, but the one that I'm working towards at the minute is a Mad Max 1 inspired team for like the patrol faction, the patrolmen, the ones that are keeping the highways safe from all the nutters, because if you've never seen the first Mad Max film, because if you type Mad Max nowadays, it usually comes up with Fury Road or Furios, which are fantastic. In my head, Gaslands isn't quite those films. There's elements of that in it, but it's more Mad Max 1, Mad Max 2 to a degree. So there is still civilization going on, because it's basically the Martians have taken over Earth. It's just... It's kind of like living under that alien tyranny, and the Earth's a wasteland for the most part, and whatever industry's there, the Martians are taken. So my idea for my team is kind of like a Mad Max 1 inspired patrol team. Watch Mad Max, or just Google Mad Max opening car chase. It's fantastic. Like, how George Miller managed to get away with doing that is just brilliant. And they're going to be the GPF, the Gumption Patrol Force. The missus has had an idea for her own team as well, as I've mentioned. It varies between the Kirby crew and Kirby's crew, depending which one we prefer at the time. I've done a couple of posters, we'll stick them up if I've not already done so, but yeah. So Kirby's crew, they're kind of like a group of femme fatale cyberpunk-esque style of gang. It's basically Escher, if you're a Warhammer fan, 40k fan, like Necromunda gang, the Escher gang. It's all women, crazy hair. You can do them with all sorts of different colours and stuff like that. So she's got lots of bright colours. We've been the neons, the neon pinks, and the really electric blues and stuff like that. But we don't compare them to the Escher gang because we don't talk about boring little men or to everyone else Warhammer in our conversations. She is very supportive of me and my hobbies. However, she just don't like it, so that's fine. I'm also working on a little bit of a custom campaign at the minute. The premise being, it's kind of like a bunch of rookies trying to make it big in the amateur leagues, like looking for sponsors and stuff like that. So that's kind of like the plans for the future. If I get time, I'm gonna kind of like share this journey as we go on. Doing all the usual wargamer, YouTuber, Gumph generic stuff like hobby vids and stuff like that, and how I do stuff. Just because I like making videos, basically, no other reason. But yeah, that's kind of the plan as we go along. So as per usual, thank you for watching, and until next time.